Hey there, it's James Taylor here, founder of Speakers U. Today I want to share with you a piece of advice on how to help speaker bureaus to sell you. Speaker bureaus are an amazing resource for us as speakers. I heard a statistic the other day which said that 75% of speaking gigs that pay over $15,000 are being booked by speaker bureaus. So if you want to be in one of those kind of highly paid speakers, you're going to be doing a lot of work with speaker bureaus. So one of the things we have to think about is when working with a speaker bureau, we need to be able to give them the tools and the words to use in order to best sell us. It's called selling up, to give that speaker bureau, that agent at that bureau, everything that they need in order to help sell you to their prospective client. And I want to give you a little story. And this happened to me last week. And it was something I'd actually never done before. But actually it's something I'm going to do a lot more with some of the speaker bureaus and new speaker bureaus I work with. So I received an email, came in from a prospective client. They were a company, a global company, and they were doing an event in northern Germany. And they'd contacted me because they said, hey James, we would love to have you come and speak at our event in Germany. And we think you're the perfect speaker because you speak on this topic. And I noticed you've also spoken to some of our competitor companies in the past as well. Great. Now I could easily have just jumped on a call with that client and looked to close the deal that way. In fact, you are always, or nearly always, your best salesperson. You know your topic really well, you know your presentation really well, you know what the problems often of that particular client are and how that can relate to what you can deliver, the value that you can provide. However, in order to scale, we need to take what's in your head and help put that into the mind of a speaker bureau, that speaker bureau agent. So I received this email from this client in Germany. And instead of just immediately jumping on a call with that client, I did something slightly different. So I responded to that client and I said, hi there, thanks so much for inquiring about me speaking at your event. I am available on that particular date. In order to move things ahead, I'd like to set up a call with me, you, and this person from this speaker bureau, a new speaker bureau that I hadn't worked with before. We just started building a relationship together. They hadn't actually sent any work my way as yet. No problem. The client comes back, yeah, that'd be great. Let's do it. We do it at 2 o'clock tomorrow. So I contacted the speaker bureau. We set up a time. We did a group conference call. It was a 3-way call with me, the prospective client, and the agent from the speaker bureau. And the way that we ran that call was very similar to the way that I would run almost any discovery call. The only thing I did slightly different is when it came to talking about pricing, I actually let the speaker bureau speak on my behalf. So this is how the call went. We started the call, all 3 of us were on the call. I asked the client about their event, what their theme was for their event, what they liked about previous speakers they booked in the past, the kind of common things that we teach at Speakers U on how to do a discovery call. As I'm speaking then and saying, okay, that's great, here's how I think I can help in that event. And I actually go into how I structure my presentations, the value that my presentation gives, what the key takeaways and actionables are, how the people are going to feel when they hear me speak on the stage. As I'm speaking to that prospective client, the speaker bureau is listening in to that entire conversation. Now he's then hearing from me how I like to sell myself. What often the words and the phrases that I'm using when that prospective client comes back and asks, well, what about this? We have a particular challenge around this. How can your speech help on that? Then the bureau is hearing me talk about that, how I can help in that way, how I can tailor my talk to really serve this particular client. And then we kind of go through all the questions I ask. I share with them the value that I can bring as a speaker, why they should be booking me as a speaker for their event. And then when it gets to the thing about, now should we talk about fees? We should talk about pricing. And the client says, yep, let's talk about fees. And I say, let me hand you over to blah, the speaker bureau agent who can talk to you about that side of things. He handles all that and the contracts and everything. And now he, on the call, starts talking to the client about me as a speaker and what I charge and all the various things there. Now, at this point, the client starts to push back a little bit. They say, wow, that's a lot of money for this 45-minute speech, for example. But then the bureau really starts coming in and adding the value that they can add. So, well, think about it. You've had previous speakers in the past who haven't worked out so well for you, and maybe you paid them a little bit less, but they haven't really delivered for your event, and then that reflects badly on you as the person that's organizing that conference. So I'm standing back. I'm not saying a word at this point, and the bureau and the client are talking to each other. And the other thing that I'm able to do here is I'm also able to listen to the bureau and hear how they handle objections when it comes to fees. Very, very useful to be able to just listen in what the words that they're using, how their strategy, the way that they deal with the client when the client has certain objections. So we do that. That's all great. You get to the end of the call and say, well, it's been a fantastic call. When are you in a position now to confirm the date, or do you need to confer with some of your colleagues? And he said, I'm actually going to confer with some of my colleagues. No problem. When can we set up the next call? And then what it ended up doing is actually the bureau and the client, the prospective client, schedule the call for later that day as well. So I can now stand out the picture a little bit and let the two of them just kind of go through some of the negotiation side of things. Now, the reason I want to share with you is a number of important things happened here. The first important thing is that I showed goodwill to a new bureau that I hadn't worked with before, by essentially giving them a gig, giving them a piece of work which they can take a commission on. The second thing that happened is the bureau is able to hear how I like to sell myself, what value I add as a speaker. I speak on creativity, innovation, artificial intelligence. These are different areas. So he really got to understand what my presentation is all about, the value that it adds. And the third thing I got to understand was how to deal with objections from a pro. This is a speaker bureau agent who's been in the business for 25 plus years, has had lots of discovery calls with prospective clients, and is very good at dealing with objections, especially objections around pricing. So I'm using this as a learning opportunity. So think about this. Next time you get an inquiry in, instead of immediately jumping on the phone and doing that call, that discovery call with that client, what about if you invited a bureau to join on that call? And okay, you give the bureau that piece of work, but it's a real win-win-win, because you're learning lots, the bureau is learning lots, and also the client is going to get a great service, because it's not just you, it's also about the bureau is able to come in and add value from their side as well. So that's my piece of advice. It's essentially helping a bureau to sell you, to sell up. My name's James Taylor. Thanks for watching. This episode of The Speaker's Life is sponsored by eSpeakers, the innovative platform that connects speakers with event organizers and associations. eSpeakers provides cutting-edge tools that will elevate your online presence, streamline your speaking business, and maximize your exposure in the speaking industry. With over 15 years in the business, 10,000 speakers in their community, and over 20,000 events managed annually, eSpeakers is the preferred choice for top speakers. You can create your own profile on eSpeakers today by going to speakersu.com/eSpeakers.